Of course the president's confident that his son didn't break the law. But most importantly, as I said, that's a matter that's going to be decided by the Justice Department, by the legal process. It's something that no one at the White House has involvement in.
All right, that was White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain saying that he's real confident, President Biden, that is, that his son Hunter is free and clear of any wrongdoing. And the Biden-friendly media is trying to wash their hands of any wrongdoing when it comes to their implication of doing the Hunter Biden laptop story. Take a listen.
I think that all news organizations, not just the Washington Post, faced a very big dilemma as they tried to figure out how to deal with the reporting about that laptop in real time. And I'm really glad that we are looking at this now. Hunter Biden is not the first political relative to take advantage and make money off of his father's access and power, but it's not a very attractive story.
All right, joining us now with reactions to tonight's company, political analyst Mark Halperin and the host of the Trish Regan Show, Trish Regan. Good to see you both. Mark, I want to start with you. I was a little shocked that Ron Klain went out as hardcore as he did and said, confident he did nothing wrong. When you got a federal investigation going on regarding Hunter Biden's, taxes, his involvement on that laptop, his business dealings, and then saying, by the way, we'll let the Justice Department handle it. But that seemed, he didn't just say we're confident, he said his father, the president of the United States, is. It seems a pretty bold statement.
Look, I'm all for fathers defending their sons. I think that's even the president of the United States entitled to do that. But the president's made it clear, he says, that he didn't know anything about Hunter Biden's business dealings. He also knows his son had a drug problem. That's unfortunate, but it's true and well documented. So I'm not really sure how Ron Klain could make that representation. The president's got arm's length distance from the transactions. And if the president, even though he loves his son, knows his son has a drug problem, how could he be sure that he did nothing wrong?
I think that's a good point. And the thing that I thought was interesting is it's one thing for President Biden to say that. I don't know that I want my chief of staff saying it on my behalf. Trish, the thing that I thought was interesting about that Ruth Marcus clip, she's the deputy editorial page over there at the Washington Post. The thing that I thought was interesting, aside from the fact that she was washing her hands clean of the Post ignoring the Hunter Biden scandal, right? She was like, oh, well, lots of kids of family members do things. But that's not the nut of this story. The nut of the story isn't just about what Hunter Biden did. It was this allegation that there's a big guy, the implication being Joe Biden, and that there's money going to him. That's very different.
Yeah, and that's fundamentally, I think, Sean, what needs to be addressed, and that's what people want to get at. So if there's an indictment of Hunter Biden, the next question then becomes, what did his father know? How complicit was his father? And these questions have to be asked. Look, I believe she said the story's not pretty. It's not pretty. It's certainly not pretty, and it certainly wasn't pretty for Democrats and a lot of mainstream media journalists as we were going into the election. But nonetheless, it's a story. And it needs to be covered, and there are more questions. And it's not right to deprive the American people of understanding exactly what was going on.
Sean, can I say one thing about that?
Yeah, of course.
Look,
yes.
This is a very complicated thing going on right now, which you two will appreciate. But let me try to unpack it. The press, which covered this up in a way, along with social media like Twitter and Facebook, in an unprecedented way, is now trying to sort of semi-acknowledge fault without being specific. They're trying to pretend that they understand that maybe something didn't go perfectly because it was complicated. They're not grappling in any way with 95% plus of what actually was done. That was an outrageous failure to do their jobs. And they shouldn't be allowed to get away with it, but they're going to cover for each other because they're all going to pretend, oh, we're talking about it, we're reflecting. They're not.
Okay, so let me go with that, Mark. Here's what.
Sorry, Sean, but we're on to something here. No, the problem is, too, you also had the intelligence community. Don't forget, and the New York Post did a good job with this, with all the pictures the other day. The whole intelligence community that was doubling down on this and telling all these journalists what they needed to say. And then they were out there, the intelligence community, saying it as well. So it really feels like a kind of collusion where the American people were sort of duped.
But Mark, the thing that I think is so interesting is, so we've now gone to a thing with all these news organizations, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, acknowledging the laptop's real, it was Hunter's, the texts are real, the emails are real, right? So if that's all true, then why isn't the allegation that the big guy, i.e. Joe Biden, is real and that money was being set aside? Why does it stop at the water's edge there?
Well, look, they have launched some investigative reports. That's different, a little belated, but they have. And the Washington Post is saying some of the emails are real, some of the texts are real. They can't authenticate them all, but nothing's been challenged. There's not a single email or text that I've seen anybody provide any information that says it's not true. And because the hard drive itself has been validated, because Hunter Biden himself didn't dispute it, I don't think it's crazy to at least discuss what's on the contents there. And the answer to your question is that they don't want to admit, they don't want to follow this to its logical conclusion. The New York Post, which has done great work on this, has another editorial in which they ask one of the questions I've been asking, which is, Joe Biden says he never discussed any of this stuff with his son. They flew on Air Force Two to China, where he did a deal. Then they flew home. You'd think the president, who loves his son so very much, said, honey, what'd you do today? And Hunter said, nothing. Obviously,
it's only 13 hours. It's only 13 hours. You could talk about,
as you know, Air Force Two has good in-flight movies. Plenty to do without asking your son.
Air Force One does. I don't know that Air Force Two does. Hey, real quick, Trish, I just got to get your 20-second comments on this. Hillary Clinton was on Meet the Press yesterday, days after her campaign was fined by the Federal Election Commission for making up the Russian host, and Chuck Todd didn't ask one question.
Right, because, he probably thinks that's misinformation too. I mean, we're sensing a pattern here. We're sensing a pattern. Look, they're not going to challenge those that they want to see in power, and right. She's one of them. And so this doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's bad journalism. It doesn't look good on Chuck Todd, but nonetheless, this is his MO. My expectations are so low at this point for all of them over there at MSNBC and NBC.
We see a pattern developing. Bad journalism. Anyway, Mark, Trish, thank you both very much. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. Experts are warning the current 40-year inflation high will only get worse. See how to protect your IRA with gold. Get a free info kit like this one at birchgold.com/Newsmax. There's no cost. There's no obligation. Just get your free info kit at birchgold.com/Newsmax.